remote. Stuff too busy. See if I can catch you guys.
You got mail.
Over. In trouble. Oh, these. Oh, that's getting. And trouble. I'm right in lower middle class now. Life. It's hard. Still thinking about that people. Sensitive. See ya. This one's down at the water now. Since I pick up a piece out. That's one done. Things with my other mother. Which is anyone's wondering. I knew she was going to die because it's sclerodema. It's the hardening of the lungs. Double lung transplant. So it was her son overdosing first. So, my good mom. Okay. See how the teacher Walter got me for going to the lunch for coffee. But I didn't go from. No club. No daytime. Cinderella dress. Listen. Yeah, 2 years I thought it could have made some good things. Did you have that he died in? And then we thought 2 years later because the cat was good, so that's why the cat they got kicked. You know, doing funeral stuff. People dying.
gunfire rings loud on the streets outside Kabul's airport. Taliban fighters are using violence against Afghans trying to reach the U.S.-controlled airport by road.
The limiting factor on getting people out of Afghanistan right now is people being unable to get to the airport.
Justin Trudeau says Canada is trying to get as many refugees out of Afghanistan as possible. He blamed Taliban checkpoints for hampering evacuations.
Which is why we see a number of the planes airlifting people out have not been forward.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers has sent an open letter to President Joe Biden urging the U.S. to securely hold the airport in Kabul until the rescue mission is complete and our citizens, allies, and vulnerable Afghans have had an opportunity to leave. The administration says the Taliban have agreed to provide safe passage to the airport, but for U.S. citizens.
There have been no hostile interactions with the Taliban. And our lines of communication with Taliban commanders remain open, as they should be.
Elsewhere in Afghanistan, a stunning show of defiance in the eastern city of Jalalabad was met with force by the insurgents, a day after they claimed Afghans would be safe under their rule.
Both he and President Trump should be deeply ashamed.
At an emergency session of Parliament, members of the British Prime Minister's own party vented their anger over what they called a failure of intelligence.
Was our understanding of the Afghan government so weak? Was our knowledge of the position on the ground so inadequate? Or did we just feel that we had to follow the United States?
The Americans are firmly rejecting reports there were warnings of a rapid collapse.
There was nothing that I or anyone else saw that indicated a collapse of this army and this government in 11 days.
Speaking from exile in the United Arab Emirates, Afghanistan's president said he fled the country to prevent bloodshed. Though many say he abandoned Afghans to an uncertain future. Karen Seolin, City News.
The decision to remove me was a result of a political calculus.
Once a central figure in Canada's fight against the pandemic, Major General Danny Fortin is facing one charge of sexual assault.
This fight against an invisible foe has been the hardest of my career.
Just months ago, Fortin was in charge of Canada's vaccine distribution. But in May, he was removed from the position following sexual misconduct allegations dating back to 1988 when he was at the Royal Military College in Saint-Jean, Quebec. Fortin is fighting the case in criminal court and is challenging the charge in federal court, saying he wasn't afforded due process.
So I've been forced to read much about me in media with no ability or no outlet to defend my name.
Fortin's case, a part of the dark shadow engulfing the Canadian Armed Forces. Retired Chief of Defence Staff Jonathan Vance is facing allegations of misconduct. His successor, Admiral Art MacDonald, now on administrative leave following a similar investigation, but that didn't lead to charges. Fortin claims his reputation is being smeared and that the allegations are false.
For the past 3 months, my family and I have been living this nightmare of not knowing the nature of the allegation, not knowing the status of the investigation, not knowing whether or not I'd be charged.
Justin Trudeau won't comment on the case, but says the forces are changing.
I will continue to bring forward even more measures to make sure that anyone who serves is properly protected and supported.
Fortin is scheduled to appear in a Gatineau courtroom on September 20th, the same day as the federal election. In Ottawa, Nigel Newlove, City News.
Beautiful day. I'm glad that we managed to escape the rain. Let me just get my notes from flying away here,
Back.
and we'll get started. Comme toujours, je suis ici sur les territoires des Mississauga, Anishinaabe,
Bossy.
Haudenosaunee et Huron-Wendat. As always, I'm here on the traditional territories of the Mississauga of the Credits, the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat. I'm also here in wonderful Moss Park. As I promised you, I would be taking you on a tour of the country.
What? Yeah. I don't. I think I found some in my truck, though. You just have to remind me to grab them.
Marx was right about the late stage of capitalism, which is what we're in now. So what the late stage of capitalism, they hate markets. They build giant monopolies, Google, Facebook, Citibank, Bank of America, etc. And then they destroy, as Amazon. I mean, Amazon, has destroyed more small businesses than probably any other entity in the United States. They hate the free market. So they build monopolistic markets. They impoverish citizenries until they function as little better than serfs. And then, in order to continue their profit margins, they begin to cannibalize the state itself. That's Marx, and he's right. So that's where you get the privatization of healthcare, the privatization of education. 70% of our intelligence operations are outsourced to private companies like Bose Allen Hamilton. That's where you get whole mercenaries, Halliburton, Raytheon, Blackwater, I don't know what's called now, Z or something. That is the late stage of capitalism. But by cannibalizing the host itself, we weaken the system tremendously. So there's a self-destructive quality. Karl Polanyi, in his book *The Great Transformation*, nails it. It's a look at what happens when you have deregulated capitalism, and he said what happens is you first create a mafia economy, and then you create a mafia state. And that's right, because
you allow these entities to commodify everything. The human beings are commodities, the natural world is a commodity that you then exploit until exhaustion or collapse. And that's why the environmental crisis is twin with the social crisis that we face.
What would a left movement, what organizational structure, ideology would make it effective left movement?
Well, one that understands the configurations of power and grasps that reform is not going to come from the Democratic or the Republican Party, that we have undergone what John Rosenthal correctly calls a corporate coup d'etat in slow motion, and it's over. And it's a matter of reading power. And I think a lot of these groups, however well-meaning, have failed to read power. They still think that, despite, for instance, all of Obama's policies, that somehow he's receptive to a progressive agenda, which he never was. First of all, he's a product of the Chicago political machine. Remember, when Obama was a state senator, there was all that stuff with Burge and the torture in Chicago. Obama never said a word and then came out and backed Daley's re-election campaign. And Daley had been the attorney general when we're talking about dozens and dozens of people were being tortured with electric cattle prods and electric shocks and, beaten, severely beaten and suffocated with plastic bags, especially in Area 2 in Chicago. So, we have to embrace a radicalism. Lenin said, we have to be as radical as reality itself. And what he meant by that is when you look at with a cold lens of what your government does, and not just what it does to poor people, but what it's doing to Muslims in the Middle East, what it does within our prison system, what it does to children who go to bed hungry, then you have to respond with the same kind of radicalism. And we need to recover that radicalism going forward, which means really accepting, certainly becoming a pariah. And with the ability of the surveillance state to monitor us, this will be very, very difficult, but it is absolutely imperative. I mean, as soon as the Democrats caved on the minimum wage, we should have rung the Capitol with tens of thousands of people, and because that's the only way these people are going to respond. And I saw communist regimes. I covered the revolutions in Eastern Europe. 500,000 people in Alexanderplatz outside the Communist Party headquarters. 500,000 people in Wenceslas Square in Prague. Even the most despotic regimes are frightened. And then I covered Romania, where the crowd turned on the Ceausescu's, and they couldn't get to the roof fast enough to get a helicopter out of there. That's what we got to do. I think what you're saying is if they don't do it, we got to do it. I don't look at AOC as an enemy. She's been bought. I mean, she's...
Well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean when you say that?
Well, I think her heart is probably in the right place. I don't know her. I never met her. But I don't look at her as an enemy the way I look at, Tom Cotton or somebody, or Mitch McConnell, is just, two of the most venal human beings who ever walked the planet, along with Trump and Stephen Miller, who looks like something out of a Bela Lugosi film. But I think we have to be clear in terms of our understanding of how power works, that these people have been emasculated, and they've shown it. They have decided that their political career is more important than confronting the monolith, and so they're not going to confront it.
Do you really think that's what's going on with people like...
Yeah, Pelosi, these are, forget the public face. I mean, I work for the New York Times, so I got a good look at what the inside of the machinery looks like, and these people are really vicious, vindictive.
What? Fuck, I went in the place, it's like, just gotta stand up firm in the lift. It felt like it was 150 degrees.
Yeah, you see them walking around with winter jackets on, like... Chemtrail.
What's that?
Chemtrail.
I didn't.
Chemtrail?
What's a chemtrail?
Chemical from airplanes.
Oh. Stripes?
Yeah. Most of the time people aren't paying attention to it. And, like, my dad always points it out. And, like, at first it's annoying, but then you're like, yeah, you know what? It's pretty fucking concerning, eh? They're saying, like, anyone who's, like, recycling also, when you get to the end of the jar of peanut butter, it's better to throw it in recycling than the garbage, apparently.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because apparently they do their own sanitizing of everything that comes in. Like, it's sorted, and then, like, certain things, like, we sanitize, they'll try to sanitize as much as possible. But, like, apparently we've all been doing it wrong, too. Because as far as I understood, like, everyone is all in agreement that anything with food, like grease or anything with oil on it, like, is no longer reusable.
Yeah, you're gonna tell me like those, let's say like those cheese wrappers, you know? It's like this wide, this what?
We should be recycling it.
I know, throw it in the recycling.
I don't. I throw them in the garbage.
There's cheese in there. Like, you're gonna tell me they pick up those little things and just fucking sanitize it?
Well, no, I think it all goes to get a machine that heats it up to a certain temperature or something like that. Yeah, or they repurpose it for something that doesn't need to be sanitized. Like, it could just, like, actually, I was watching videos of people that are building houses and the inside is styrofoam. And they look like Lego blocks. And they all interconnect with each other. And that's what they use for insulation. I was like, well, that is a fucking genius idea. Because styrofoam is kind of like a stain on the planet that never goes away. It takes like over 20 years for it to deteriorate. So that shit in landfills, and there's literally no other use for it. You can't burn it, you can't, well, no, styrofoam is really bad. Like, plastic bottles, if you get the thin plastic, they will break down eventually. But styrofoam is just like fucking, it's like the thing that never dies. You can't burn it, and that's the better thing about it. They use it as insulation and it doesn't catch fire. Yeah. So that's really cool. They literally look like Lego blocks, though. I was like, oh.
Figures who will destroy you if you cross them.
So
and AOC and everyone's figured that out.
So when someone like AOC says, I would rather be a one-term congressperson, this is what she's saying when she's running. I would rather be a one-term congressperson than to forsake my values. I understand over time, even someone like Biden who, wasn't, the grand scheme of Congress, didn't come from an affluent family, political family or anything like that. Once you're in there for 30, 40 years, yeah, you're invested. That's how you make your money. But someone like AOC, you're brand new. I as much as I'm characterized as like being antagonistic to her, I'd be willing to give her a lot more benefit of the doubt than most, because she hasn't invested as with a lot of other people in playing this game and staying in Congress. So that's part of why it's so confusing and frustrating when people like her, who just a year or two ago were saying, hey, I'd rather be a one-term congressperson than forsake my values. Why aren't we, it's ridiculous that Democrats haven't ever forced a vote on Medicare for all. Like, she's literally just said those things within the past 24 months. Is now not choosing to leverage her power. And is it just as simple as, I want to stay in Congress, I am enjoying this $170,000 salary?
Yeah, it's that, and also the belief that my being here is better than my not being here. I mean, they'll rationalize it.
See, I think that that's more of it. I think that it's very easy to say, I am doing some good, a good deal of good. And then that's better than me not being here at all or being replaced by someone who's a lot worse.
Yeah, but she's powerless. Within the structure, she has no power at all. I mean, she has a media presence because Fox News gives it to her. They need a foil. They needed a foil for Trump. She was the foil.
Right, and the fact of a certain kind of independent democratized media, I would argue, you can say what you want about Twitter, but AOC has more Twitter followers than anybody in Congress.
Well, to quote Noam Chomsky, what can you really communicate over, 177 words or something?
Well, we got 220 characters now, so you can get a little paragraph going.
There you go. There it is.
But the idea is, if you're saying, though, Chris, if you're saying that the problem is nobody's calling for mass protest, and AOC has 14 million Twitter followers or whatever it is, and we have seen the demonstrated power of her sending out a tweet and collecting millions of dollars overnight and directing millions of dollars of aid and getting boots places, she can do that. So I don't think it's fair to say that just because these people don't have power internally. I agree with you. They don't have power internally, but that's why they should be using the power of the people
But they won't, because they'll be destroyed. They will end up. Bernie's not wrong. The machine will destroy them. I mean, look what they did to Cynthia McKinnon.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a long list. That was largely over Palestine.
Right.
I mean, they're very unforgiving. I mean, you can just see example after example going all the way back to George McGovern. In 72, he gets the nomination. The Democratic leadership and the Republican leadership unite to destroy him. And then they take down his Senate seat. And he's out. He's finished. So she's figured the game out. And if she were to start calling for mass protests, they'd crush her. And she knows it, so she won't. And I know I'm a little over, but just let me close by talking about Trump. Trump is the symptom. He's not the disease. Mm-hmm. And I watch this same kind of political deformity and deterioration in Yugoslavia. And you can go back and look at Weimar. Eric Vogelin writes about it in Hitler and the Germans, where he talks about how, this idea that Hitler mesmerized or hypnotized is ridiculous. What it tapped into was a kind of inchoate rage and frustration and sense of betrayal, because after the 1929 crash, the socialist government, the Social Democrats under Ebert in Weimar, imposed the same kinds of programs of austerity that were pushed on him by the banks. So they even suspended, if you can believe it, unemployment insurance. People couldn't even get unemployment insurance. And the Nazis were in 28 were polling in the single digits after the crash, of course, and the policy of austerity, and then it gets into the whole, we go back to Rosa Luxemburg and the Freikorps and all that. But people embraced these figures who were, everybody knew they were buffoonish, in the same way that everyone knows Trump is buffoonish. As the same way that everybody knew Radovan Karadzic or Slobodan Milosevic or Franjo Tuđman were buffoonish, because of the anger at the system. And my fear, as I watch the Democratic Party and the mainstream commercial media, is that they don't get it. They continue to play this reality show game. Did Russia try and interfere? Well, yeah, probably. But Trump is not a product of Russian interference. Trump is a product of grotesque social inequality. And of course, the Democratic Party doesn't want to address that issue because they are an appendage of corporate power. Yes, they're not they are on the spectrum of corporate power that doesn't want to be identified as a racist or a xenophobe or a homophobe. But they do nothing to halt the cannibalization of corporations, and of course, that part of that is the wars that we are waging. It makes no sense to remain. The Taliban now controls more territory in Afghanistan than they did when we went in. So why are we still there? Well, I mean, look at the stock prices of Raytheon, Halliburton. A cruise missile costs what, $1.1 million? Let's drop 50 of them on Libya. It's good for money. It's good for profit for the war industry, but it's not good for anyone over there, and it's certainly not good for us. And then I guess I'll happy to take any questions anyone has. And I fled Germany as a refugee in the 1930s as a teenager, and Robert Paxton, who wrote the book The Anatomy of Fascism, for Stern, wrote the classic book The Culture of Despair. I remember Stern telling me that in Germany there was a yearning for fascism before the word fascism was invented. And I think that all of that embodies the Christian right, which upends the core message of the Christian gospel. It's about material, the acquisition of material wealth and power. That's an anathema to the gospel. It acculturates or sacralizes the worst aspects of American imperialism, capitalism, and white supremacy. I mean, the whole notion that America is anointed to bring about the kingdom of God, and that the white race...
And we're done. That's where you lost me.
Today, we are faced, I think, with the approach of what may be called the ultimate revolution, the final revolution, where a man can act directly on the mind-body of his fellows. Well, needless to say, some kind of direct action on human mind bodies has been going on since the beginning of time. But this has generally been of a violent nature. The techniques of terrorism have been known from time immemorial, and people have employed them with more or less ingenuity, sometimes with the utmost crudity, sometimes with a good deal of skill acquired by a process of trial and error, finding out what the best ways of using torture, imprisonment, constraints of various kinds. But as I think it was Metternich said many years ago, you can do everything with bayonets except sit on them. That if you are going to control any population for any length of time, you must have some measure of consent. It's exceedingly difficult to see how pure terrorism can function indefinitely. It can function for a fairly long time, but I think sooner or later you have to bring in an element of persuasion, an element of getting people to consent to what is happening to them. Well, it seems to me that the nature of the ultimate revolution with which we are now faced is precisely this, that we are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy, who have always existed and presumably always will exist, to get people actually to love their servitude. This is seems to me the ultimate in malevolent revolution, shall we say, and that there seems to be a general movement in the direction of this kind of ultimate revolution, this method of control by which people can be made to enjoy a state of affairs which, by any decent standard, they ought not to enjoy. This, I mean, the enjoyment of servitude. And first, let me talk about a little bit about the improvement even in the techniques of terrorism. I think there have been improvements. Pavlov, after all, made some extremely profound observations, both on animals and on human beings. And he found, among other things, that conditioning techniques applied to animals or humans in a state either of psychological or physical stress sank in, so to say, very deeply into the mind body of the creature, and were extremely difficult to get rid of, that they seem to be embedded more deeply than other forms of conditioning. In this context, I would like to mention the extremely interesting chapters in Dr. William Sargent's Battle for the Mind, where he points out how intuitively some of the great religious teachers, leaders of the past, hit on the Pavlovian method. He speaks specifically of Wesley's method of producing conversions, which were essentially based upon a technique of heightening psychological stress to the limit by talking about hellfire, and so making people extremely vulnerable to suggestion, and then suddenly releasing this stress by offering the hopes of heaven. And this is a very interesting chapter of showing how completely, on purely intuitive and empirical grounds, a skilled natural psychologist, as Wesley was, could discover these Pavlovian methods. Well, as I say, we now know the reason why these techniques worked, and there's no doubt at all that we can, if we want to, carry them much further than was possible in the past. And of course, in the recent history of brainwashing, both as applied to prisoners of war and to the lower personnel within the Communist Party in China, we see that the Pavlovian methods have been applied systematically and evidently with extraordinary efficacy. I mean, I think there can be no doubt that by the application of these methods, a very large army of totally devoted people has been created. The conditioning has been driven in, so to say, by kind of psychological iontophoresis into the very depths of the people's being, and has got so deep that it's very difficult for it ever to be rooted out. And these methods, I think, are a real refinement on the older methods of terror, because they combine methods of terror with methods of acceptance, that the person who he is subjected to a form of terroristic stress, but for the purpose of inducing a kind of voluntary, quotes, acceptance of the state and the psychological state into which he has been driven, and the state of affairs within which he finds himself. So that, as I say, there has been, I think, a definite improvement, shall we say, even in the techniques of terrorism. But then we come to consideration of other techniques, of non-terroristic techniques for inducing consent and for inducing people to love their servitude. First of all, there are the methods connected with straight suggestion and hypnosis. I think we know much more about this subject than was known in the past. People, of course, have always known about suggestion, and although they didn't know the word hypnosis, they certainly practiced it. But we now, I think, know pretty clearly the sort of statistical structure of a population in regard to its suggestibility. It's very interesting when you look at the findings in different fields. I mean, in the field of hypnosis, in the field of administering placebos, for example, in the field of general suggestion in states of drowsiness or of light sleep, you will find the same sorts of orders of magnitude continually cropping up. You will find, for example, that the experienced hypnotists will tell one that the number of people, the percentage of people who can be hypnotized with the utmost facility, just like that, is about 20%. That about a corresponding number at the other end of the scale are very, very difficult or almost impossible to hypnotize, and that in between there lies a large mass of people who can, with more or less difficulty, be hypnotized, that they can gradually be, if you work hard enough at it, be got into the hypnotic state. And in the same way, the same sort of figures crop up again, for example, in relation to the administration of placebos. A big experiment was carried out 3 or 4 years ago in the General Hospital in Boston on post-operative cases where several hundred men and women suffering comparable kinds of pain after serious operations were given injections whenever they asked for them, whenever the pain got bad, and the injections 50% of the time were of morphine, 50% of the time were of distilled water. And about 20% of those who went through the experiment, about 20% of them got just as much relief from the distilled water as from the morphine. About 20% got no relief from the distilled water, and in between were those who got some relief or got relief occasionally. So here again we see the same sort of distribution. And I suspect also that it would not be at all difficult to recognize in very early childhood who were those who were extremely suggestible, who were those who were extremely unsuggestible, and who were those who occupied the intermediate space. Quite clearly, if everybody were extremely unsuggestible, organized society would be quite impossible. And if everybody were extremely suggestible, then dictatorship would be absolutely inevitable. I mean, it's very fortunate we have people who are moderately suggestible in the majority, and who therefore preserve us from dictatorship, but do permit organized society to be formed. But once given the fact that there are these 20% of highly suggestible people, it becomes quite clear that this is a matter of enormous political importance. For example, any demagogue who is able to get hold of a large number of these 20% of suggestible people and to organize them is really in a position to overthrow any government in any country. And I mean, I think this, after all, we've had the most incredible example in recent years of what can be done by efficient methods of suggestion and persuasion in the form of Hitler. Anybody who's read, for example, Bullock's Life of Hitler comes forth from this with a sort of horrified admiration for this infernal genius who really understood human weaknesses, I think, almost better than anybody, and who exploited them with all the resources then available. I mean, he knew everything. I mean, for example, he knew intuitively this Pavlovian truth that conditioning installed in a state of stress or fatigue it goes much deeper than conditioning installed at other times. This was why all his big speeches were organized at night. He speaks of this quite frankly, of course, in Mein Kampf. He says this was done solely because people are tired at night and therefore are much less capable of resisting persuasion than they would be during the day. And we see in all his techniques, he was using... He had discovered intuitively and by trial and error a great many of the weaknesses which we now know about in a sort of scientific way, I think much more clearly than he did. But the fact remains that this differential suggestibility, this susceptibility to hypnosis, I do think is something which has to be considered very carefully in relation to any kind of thought about democratic government. I mean, if there are 20% of the people who can really be suggested into believing almost anything, as evidently they can be, then we have to take extremely careful steps to prevent the rise of demagogues who will drive them on into extreme positions and then organize them into very, very dangerous armies, private armies, which may overthrow the government. But this, as I say, is in this field of pure persuasion. I think we do know much more than we did in the past, and obviously we now have mechanisms for multiplying the demagogue's voice and image in a quite hallucinatory way. Under the television and the radio, Hitler was making enormous use of the radio. He could speak to millions of people simultaneously. I mean, this alone, of course, creates an enormous gulf between the modern and the ancient demagogue. And the ancient demagogue could only appeal to as many people as his voice could reach by the yelling at his utmost. The modern demagogue can touch literally millions at a time, and of course with the multiplication of his image, he can produce this kind of hallucinatory effect, which is of enormous hypnotic and suggestive importance. In these techniques, where the object of application is the human being, you're obviously up against the most dangerous situation. And what will be the temptation for those in power? I mean, after all, we pray regularly not to be led into temptation, and this is a very profound and important prayer. I mean, experience sadly shows that if we are tempted long enough and strongly enough, we almost invariably succumb and that the whole process of setting up a decent society is essentially setting up a society in which temptations to abuse power and shall be reduced to a minimum. But these new techniques, I think, do constitute a series of very powerful temptations, which to those in authority may finally turn out to be irresistible. I hope not, but I think what you say is something which we have to think about. I mean, that this might be applied with justification, as you say, in the highest patriotic and moral terms, even in democratic societies. I trust not, but one never knows.
In our world, there will be no emotions except fear, rage, triumph, and self-abasement. The sex instinct will be eradicated.
Morning, happy Wednesday. Let me tell you about how I almost died right now. Very dramatic. You guys, there was a gas leak in the house for weeks. For weeks, there was a gas leak. I knew it. They didn't do anything about it. My adrenaline is pumping because I could have exploded.
You see what I sent you? It's amazing, and I want it. You have no idea. It's okay. Only because violin is one of the few instruments that I have ever picked up, and I just couldn't seem to figure it out for some reason. Usually I can just pick up any instrument, and it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I can kind of figure out how to play notes on it. I can make something sound pretty. But violin is really, really hard. And I'm it was so bad that I just not even 2 minutes, and I just bah! I don't want to do this anymore. I just never touched one again. I was fucking violins are stupid anyway. But I love the sound of violin. That, or I want a fucking accordion. Fun fact, I used to play the xylophone when I was in elementary school. And the wooden xylophone. Fucking man, you rice. There's also an electric violin on here. Those things are pretty rad. I have no idea. I think he's bored. Hi, baby. He doesn't want to sit on the chair. He's gonna jump off. Because he doesn't seem to want to hang out with me recently. So, and he just is sometimes it's just me. I'll either be in a bad mood or not attentive enough, and then he'll start being an asshole, and then I'm oh, that's why you're being an asshole. It's because I'm not paying enough attention. But it's also because I always start to cut his fur, or clean his eyeballs, try to pull out foreign objects that are wedged between his fucking toes, and gets all pissy and runs away. And he's fine, I'll sleep on the floor. I'm Jack, don't be like that. What? Can I help you? Oh. Here. Oh, fuck, I don't remember. I thought it was 8. But I have been apparently was wrong on almost literally everything that we've ever bought from Globe. So don't ask anything in regards to what we pay for Globe prices. Because apparently I'm like not super far off. I'm just slightly off. I don't know why I think they cost more. I feel like all their prices went up. Ever since their tapes, their, what do you call it, zigzags or the raws? I remember. I think it was the raws, because they didn't carry the zigzags anymore or some shit. What? Talking to who? Robbie? They're just gonna end up doing a bunch of work for nothing.
Right?
They're just gonna end up doing a bunch of work and put a lot of brain power
all
into.
the work I'm doing. He asked me how much they are. Here's the price. You want them? Send me the money. You don't want them? Conversation's over. I've been doing more than that. I'm making $50 a case on the backwards LED kit. Yeah.
No more, no more. It can no way. I'm yours. I love that song. Open up your heart and you'll find the love. Shut up, Jack.
I was just trying to tell you.
You're ruining the song.
I was just trying to tell you parked like an idiot.
How about you don't be rude, dumb? That was really, really rude. Accordions. They're probably like $1 bajillion. Almost that many dollars. I don't get it. Okay, bye. Hmm. Okay. I have not been smoking at all. Oh my god, eat it. Oh, I know when I took this plate off. Very careful. Oh, there are so many. Like this chemicals. Oh. Yeah, I'm terribly sorry. I literally need to get up in there. Okay. Oh, don't. Oh. Ah. Yeah. Yeah. Fucking Christ. Yeah, it's a job, sorry. How's that? Oh. Oh. This isn't trying to suck over this. Wait a second. Nope. Nope. Hopefully we don't touch fire. Hmm. Really? Come on. Wow. You're so good. Those are fucking big ass spiders. Okay. Don't think about it. Just don't think about it. We're good. We're fine. We're fine. I don't know how I got distracted looking at musical instruments. Mm. Oof. Cancel. Okay. I was literally the day I get it. I don't like it. Oof. Motherfucker scared the shit out of me. Holy fuck. Why? What a dick. Okay. Fucker. think everyone's allowed to do fireworks except me. What are you? You okay, Boo-Boo? It's okay, just fireworks. You're not afraid, eh? You look fucking Doberman. Oh. What? No. What? Well, we have to wait for fucking sweetheart to get back. Oh. Okay. I hate shopping. I hate shopping. I hate shopping so fucking much. Oh, no. Jack, you're funny. He just like popped it. I'm talking to my dog because he popped his butt. Tom? Tom? Hi. Okay. Tom! Oh. Mm. I need to get a ride? Hello? No, maybe. No. Do I need to get a ride? Do I need to get a ride? 9:30. 9:47, sorry.
Oh, shit. What time do you want to go?
Oh, up to you.
Right?
Up to you.
Like around 11-ish or something?
Yeah, okay.
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 All right. Bye.
Really? So good. Mhm. Swear to fucking God. Fucking dumbass. Okay. Zero the fuck out. Okay, then. What's the shit? Mm. This is stupid. I thought that was a ball trip.
Right?
I totally thought that was a ball trip. No, I don't hear anything because this air conditioner right next to my ear. Sorry? Do you expect anything else from Keaton?
I told him, get the money ready. Come in.
When is he actually ready?
That gives me a file. Because that's not 7
Fuck.
He goes, tell him. I go, but the guy doesn't even have a fucking license.
It's funny.
That's why I have to go with the truck, because I got this money bulging out of my pocket with no elastics.
That's not $7,000. No, it's $4,000.
The guy just eyeballing me like there's some sketch outside. It's like, and I stepped in a puddle of I don't know what, and it's I drive it.
Okay. This one.
Right?
I'm just thinking out loud. Well, it's only 4,000 at least.
Right?
At least it's only 4,000 to get the count.
No, it's 7,200.
Oh, you want help counting it? Is that what you're saying?
Last week, I'm 3,500 for return. I had right up till the day before yesterday, $35,000 written backwards in the house, with 7,200 floating to him on credit. So it's like, you know, all my money's in fucking backwards.
Yeah, you know you're gonna get it, but the downside is you have to fucking chase after it, like, because it's always on his time.
And now he paid me. I sold a few cases here and there, but I'm still holding a $20,000 inventory back.
Honestly, I get it because he's a bulk buyer, like one of the biggest bulk buyers that we do have.
Yeah, but he doesn't give me anything right now. He's chiseling a buck because what's like Paul gave me a deal. And now,
I don't know why,
because the deal was he was supposed to get from Ontario when we need it. He hasn't gotten once.
He's gonna be able to rip them off.
The only advantage I have is when I run out, I can call him and say, "Bring me 20 stouts or 20 honey." He brings it to me right away.
Does he really?
Yeah, like last time, and then he said, "Yeah, pay me tomorrow." So, okay, whatever. And I chased after him for 3 days.
Yeah, but how often,
It happened twice. That's it. So there's no.
How often are we in that predicament where we're we need 4 cartons of backwoods?
No, it's happened a few times because I don't order honey berry anymore. The dark stouts, when I order them, I don't sell them. When I don't have them, everybody wants them. So
nobody ever wants honey.
And dark stouts, the last 3 orders I placed with Cole, that's one of the cases that was always shorted on me. So I was out of
but dark stout's always been hard, and I don't know why. It seems to dry faster.
Yeah, but this week, see, I sold a full case of dark stouts, and I don't usually. So it's like
really,
yeah. So you always have to.
I feel like we at least do either half a case or a full.
I gotta try to make Cole understand. Mr. Backwoods over there, Mr. fucking Schmuck, what's his face?
Shortstop.
The legend in his own right. He's giving a shit like Troy. Every time I call him, I said, "Listen, I'm sitting on 7 cases of Russian cream. You want them?" So I'll give them to you the same price as 62. He goes, "Well, no." He goes, "That's what I get off Travis." So I'm like, "Oh, really? So that's your answer? So you'd rather do the extra 20 minutes, go there, take the bridge, and come get them from me?"
I don't know why all of a sudden he came around and he's buddy again. I didn't really get it.
Well, it's because I understood why. Because the last time he came to get a case, I gave it to him at 63. He goes, "Can you do 62?" I'm like, no, I paid 62, which is not true, but I'm not going to give it to him for $2 profit.
Sometimes we're even paying 63.
I said, "Give me 63," but then takes the cases, I'll bring you the money tonight. I have to run after him for 3 days. So basically,
I noticed that
when he comes to me, it's because he needs credit.
not only, or when he's in a fucking jam, like.
Yeah, he needs credit. Basically, he's taking my product to go make his money, and then he pays me. But you know
No,
what?
Eddie's very like obvious about it. My favorite is the fact that he'll say things like almost like pet names, like Mochum, like my friend, when he wants something from you, but if he just doesn't want anything from you, he's like a total fucking
When Pat was here
brushes
last
you
week,
off.
he made the
Fucking
same
dick.
comment, and it's 1,000% right. When people that you know or that you barely know or just acquaintance with, and they keep on calling you mon ami, my friend,
Oh yeah,
that
definitely.
usually means watch your back.
Mm-hmm. I
I've
noticed
lived
that.
with that rule my whole life, and it seemed to work out fine.
Well, I
You
wouldn't.
get the odd exception here and there, but
Yeah, but usually if they say stuff like that, they say it for everything. Like people that call other people like pet names like honey and like, but like just friends and shit. They just call everybody a pet name. Andrew's like that.
your train hasn't called me once or since that day.
I don't know why you didn't let Anthony and fucking Mischief go.
No, because it is
beat
what
the
it
fucking
is.
life
Yeah,
out
no,
of
yeah,
him.
but Yoshane knows a lot of sketch people. I don't want to start.
Yoshane got a fucking child.
He is. He's just a wannabe little hustler. He's just a nickel and dime.
He lives in like the ghetto
that-
area
that
of fucking
thinks-
Chattagate. There's
But
more
that's
ghetto
how he makes
areas.
his money. When he gets little occasions like that to screw someone, he'll do it. But
I don't know, like if
I
you
left
knew
for
that,
10
like
minutes.
I don't understand like why you would leave him
I
in the
didn't
house
think
or
Anthony was
even
gonna
do
go out to the car to
business.
grab the case. I never thought that because the door was closed.
But you said you guys both knew better, like to not
but
trust
I left
him.
my son here. It's like I was in a rush. I was in a fucking bind. It was Saturday, and I had Ricky and Michelle and I had to run after everybody to bring their stock, and I was making money. So it's not like I was doing it for free. And you're saying, 11:30, or then I gotta go. That's fine. It's my fault. I left money on the fucking desk. So I can blame everybody else.
No.
I should not leave. Hey, that money was lying on the desk for fun.
If I'm working in a store that's maybe that's different. If it's not my store, it's my home.
Yeah, but me leaving the house, even if you or Anthony are here, because somebody else I know is coming.
It's not like I have a sign out front on the lawn saying, "All welcome, come on in."
My play is to put the money away. I left it on the fucking. So I give him the opportunity for that 20, 30 seconds.
That's some ballsy shit.
To grab a pile and fuck up.
That's some ballsy shit.
So, yeah, no, Yoshane's like that. So even if I go to, and Anthony told me, he says, well, why don't you call him? He says, no. He says, I'll call him. I'll tell him, by the way, my dad has cameras. But then the guy's going to turn around and say, yeah, so? Which he's going to deny it. That's how Yoshane is.
That's how everybody who's a thief is. If you're going to lie. Like, that's why. Like, I don't lie because I get caught on, like, the first, second lie.
What he doesn't know is he lost a whole bunch of fucking business.
Yeah, but we weren't really doing business with him to begin with. We would get cases off him once in a while.
He was giving me the cases for $480.
Yeah, and it was super sketch.
$480?
Getting them out of like the back of the apartment building where like everybody can see, like out of his fucking storage thing.
And he was delivering to me. I told him I was getting 500 delivered. Travis is giving me 500. I told him, I said, what do you want me to give you? He said, I'll give you 480. I said, if you deliver him, I'll take 480. I was going to buy at least 6 to 8 cases a week off it. And he doesn't want the business, fine. Take my 30.
That's not wanting the business.
Fucking choke on it.
That is. You gotta fucking think you got a big dick you can swing around. Like, the fuck are you doing? That is not how you do this kind of business with people. You want them as allies, not enemies.
You should see now how Travis. Yesterday when I messaged him, I said, yeah, I'm gonna pay for these 10 cases, but I'll only pick up. He writes laugh out loud, says, "Oh, I take down payments anytime. It's all good. Don't worry about it. I'll store them for you." So I know I got free storage whenever I want. But then I messaged him. I said, "Yeah, but I might need more this week. This is just for a day or two." He said, "Dom, Whenever you need, same day, I don't care. He says, don't worry. He says, I'll get him there the same
This
day.
Travis?
Yeah, because he saw the first week I gave him $14,000 worth of business. The second week, on a slow week, I gave him $6,000 of business. So he sees like $40,000 of business from me every month. That's $500,000 a year. Travis ain't fucking stupid. He's gonna do whatever the fuck I want.
He is stupid because he listens to his fucking cousin.
Hey?
He is stupid because he listens to his
He is
fucking
what?
cousin. He's stupid because he listens to his cousin.
Yeah, he probably got.
Yeah, no, Rook's
It's
probably
something that
fucking
started
off.
up and you get because it's
No,
family,
apparently he
that's why you
started
get
going
stuck.
to the slot machines.
Rook is always in the slot machines. Anthony saw him.
Yeah, but like,
Rook's gonna piss
obviously.
away all their money.
Oh, yeah, he probably already has.
He's got that attitude. He's got that attitude.
My shit don't stink. Yeah.
No,
I'm
but
the
also
big
he
fucking
hates,
tough
he
guy.
hates to lose, and he's gonna sit there in front of a machine.
Yeah,
and butt heads
I know.
With a machine saying, "Oh yeah, you want to take 1,000? I'll take 2,000 off you." And before you know it, he'll dump everything. But
If
Travis
Anthony's that sure that fucking what's his face did it, then
oh no, if Anthony goes with AJ, you never saw AJ.
no
This
fucking
big mulatto guy, bald head, but fucking shoulders as wide as a fucking
no.
truck.
If he's down to even call him
And AJ is wow.
and
If
just be
AJ
like
goes with
fucking
Anthony,
watch your fucking back.
Yoshane is not living anymore, but I know Yoshane has a young kid, and I'm not gonna do
Okay,
that
but
to a
over
kid.
like a couple $1,000, like
I'm
it's
not gonna do
not
that to a kid over a
obviously
couple of thousand.
like yeah, but it's not even to go go hurt him in any way.
That's not
It's like I like Anthony's idea of just being like, you know what? We know that it was you that took the money, so
no, I mean, next time he calls me,
watch your fucking
if
back.
he does call me, I'm gonna tell him, bro, I don't have any business. I got money robbed from me. It was about 8,000. I says I'm kind of suffering.
8?
I'm gonna tell him 8 just to see his reaction, because if he took the money, he knows how much it was. $3,480.
Okay.
So if I say 8, he's gonna think I'm full of shit, and within the comment he's gonna make, I'm gonna figure out.
Why don't you? Okay.
It's not worth it.
Whatever.
He's gonna deny it,
It's not worth it.
and it's just gonna be a pissing contest.
It's not about being a pissing contest. It's about fucking principle.
Trust me, if you have put me in the street and I wasn't eating and I was
It's about standing
It
up
would
for
be a different
yourself,
story.
though. Like,
once again,
don't
I'm
fuck
pissed
with
off.
me.
I'm totally pissed off. I felt like I got raped like a schoolgirl, but long story short, at the end of the day, my fault. I should not $100, $200, $500 lying around. But when you leave that kind of coin lying around for days on the desk, it's my fault. I was unorganized, and I just got to get my shit together. That's it. I'm glad in a way. I paid a high price to teach myself that it doesn't matter if you live to be 150 years old, you learn every day, and you've got to learn from your mistakes. And I don't make the same mistakes. Not usually. But it's all on me. It's all on me. Because that's his nature. If I don't tempt his nature, he's not doing it. So it's on me. It's like Tristan. If I leave him in the house alone and I leave everything lying around and I see something was stolen, it's on me. If I know Tristan's there, I should hide it. Or at least put it away the way it's supposed to. So I got everything under lock and key, and if somebody wants to do it, well, they're going to have to fucking bust it open. And next week, I'm going to call Levon, my buddy. He has an alarm and company and all that shit. He did all the cameras at Stardust, at Playground and shit. I'm going to have him install cameras and whatever. And he's going to charge me a $1. Because when I got him the contracts at Stardust and Playground, Stardust was about $80,000. I never asked him for anything. And when we did the grand opening, he came to play and said hi, because Levon was always invited. I always texted with him and maybe 20 other guys for the high stakes games. He came, always a gentleman. Like he's a cocky nature. He's a Middle Eastern, but he doesn't walk in like, like a Gino. Like, hey, look at me. He's a very calm nature. He's a very good tournament poker player. He's made a lot of money at it. And he just came in, classy, whatever. And as he left, he was going down the stairs. He saw me. He looks at me. He shakes my hand. I feel something in my hand. And when he left, I looked. There was 10 brownies in it. So he gave me $1,000. I never asked him for $1. And at Playground, he made over $100,000 just with those cameras. Never asked him for nothing. Mike Henderson, the piece of shit, all kinds of crap. Now I know why he called it that name, because when he looks in the mirror, that's what he sees. All kinds of crap. I gave him a $32,800 contract at Stardust for all the TVs. He looked at me and says, well, what cut do you want? I said, I want nothing. I'm doing this for the business. He says, I looked at him and I said, all I want, give me a 32-inch TV for my son. And those were costing him like $140 for a $32,000 contract. And when the job was said and done, he reneged on it, and he's a piece of shit. And when I go see him
still fucking give him money.
And when I go see him at the store, he's still got fucking attitude with me, like he's so much better than me. You know what? Yeah, I'd rather not say a word. This way, I feel I don't have to fucking stoop to anybody's level. Same thing with you, Shane, and anybody else. You want to fuck me? Go right ahead.
Well, I don't steal
You're gonna
things.
fuck me twice.
I steal things from people that I am in their home. I'll steal from the government.
Everybody's got their own. I'd rather just work for my money. If I got a chance to screw someone, it's not going to be someone who works 9 to 5. It's going to be the government, and it's going to be for millions. Or it's going to be a multi-billion-dollar, million-dollar company that deserves it. Then I lose no sleep over it. I won't fucking for millions and fuck right off. But anybody who's a 9 to 5 worker, I won't fuck them. What's the point?
Well, no, it's just,
for a couple of $100 or a couple of $1,000, you're going to put somebody in dire straits.
It's not you just said that he didn't put you in dire straits, but it's
no, but he hurt me because the timing was off.
If I let you in my house, it means that I expect you to fucking.
In the house. Anybody who wants to deliver, you leave it there at the fucking door. Nobody's ever going to deliver again, so you'll change never coming back. The day he called me, I thought, listen, give me backwards at 58. No, I got no business.
Yeah, but is that the whole thing? Is it?
You can call me every name.
You know what time you're driving around during the day?
Right?
Isn't that the whole problem? Is that you don't have time to be driving around delivering during the day?
Yeah, but with Travis, I'm pretty much buying everything off Travis, so I don't have a choice.
So basically, you're working for Travis.
Well, no. How am I working for Travis? He's selling me my product at cheaper than ever.
Oh no, we're basically making his business.
Hey?
We're basically supporting his business.
No, he's supporting mine. What he doesn't know is how much he thinks I make $100, $150 a case. He's making $100 a case off me. When I sell to him, I'm making $375 a case. He doesn't know that, because if he finds that out, he's going to up my price. When he was giving me credit, he was putting the price he wanted because he was giving me credit. I was rolling with his money. But if I would have started buying with my own money back then, I would have so much more money now because I see the difference when the cost is down as opposed to when the cost goes up. I I gave up tens of thousands of dollars to play it safe and get credit off it. But it is really good. I did it right because I did not risk a dime at the start. Whatever got built, it got built that way, and then I started buying cash, and the cost goes down. So I didn't do anything wrong. Hindsight is 20/20. It's always easier after the fact.
Fuck Travis.
Hey?
I guess I just have a bigger ego.
No, when it comes to business, I have my ego is put aside. It's all about business. I'll take credit. If the guy thinks I'm a welfare recipient because I took credit, I don't give a fuck. If it suits my needs.
Yeah, but I'm also not gonna let you fucking shit on me and then fucking help you out.
Travis never shit on me. Travis ever shit on me after we left. Yeah.
Oh, I am destroying everything. Okay, itchy. Oh, okay. I'm gonna pee.
never paid 60. The best year ever paid me, I think, was 63 because you have extra. I remember the last time we paid 2,000. I ordered one case for 65 as well. It's a good price. Well, nobody else is going to have that price right now. All right, it's going to be here next week. All right? All right.
What? Food? This. I'm hungry.
The world is drowning in stuff. The stuff we cram into our closets, stored in our garage, and acquired in malls and shops and boutiques. Stuff that gets thrown out and washes up on shore, and stuff that causes billions of tons of carbon dioxide to spew into the atmosphere every year. But all this stuff isn't really necessary to live. Indeed, often we're less happy because of it. So why do we buy? But more importantly, how do we stop this rampant consumption fueled by capitalist growth? Today, I try to answer those questions by carving out possible avenues through which we can end consumerism and craft a more just and ethical way of living well on this planet. This video was made possible by people who support me on Patreon. You get early access to all my videos by becoming an OCC Patreon supporter. In the global north, overconsumption runs rampant. Whether it's a brand new Tesla Model S or a nice pair of jeans, buying for status, acceptance, desire, or because of that Instagram ad are all ingrained in our conception of success and mental well-being. Under capitalism, we buy the right things as a way for us to seek acceptance from and connection with our peers. The barrage of ads we encounter every day equate smiles with khakis, suaveness with sunglasses, even love with headphones. But this drive to purchase that new Swiffer wetjet or that new car is not an inherently biological trait. Our quest for more, our relentless overconsumption, is a symptom of capitalism. An economic system reliant on constant growth in order to create profits. For a business to succeed, outcompete others, and ultimately rake in more profits, it must grow. And one of the brainchildren of this profit growth imperative is advertising, a way to make new and useless products seem fresh, exciting, and even essential. That new iPhone, Bose's, noise-canceling headphones, and basically all of fast fashion are the epitome of this phenomenon. This kind of advertising is not telling you what the company's products are, but instead what you could be with their product. In this way, the products of the capitalist profit machine are foisted onto us, consumers, as life-altering goods that in reality change very little of our material circumstances. In short, capitalism needs to make more and more shit to remain effective. So corporations transform these products through marketing from goods that don't need to exist into necessities in order to get us to eat up what they're making. But more consumption and more income does not equate to more happiness. In fact, this phenomenon is called the Easterling paradox. Studies reveal that after our basic material needs are met, any additional consumption does little to improve happiness or mental health. In addition to its impact on individuals' self-conception and mental health, capitalist overproduction and subsequent overconsumption, especially in the global north, drives massive waste, emissions, and pollution. A country's rise in emissions correlates strongly with their growth in GDP, same with energy consumption and production. The capitalist growth model is incompatible with a zero-carbon world. Fact which has been on display in the failures of decoupling strategies that try to use renewables and techno fixes like band-aids over a gaping wound. We know that decoupling doesn't work when we look at South Korea's emissions growth after their green growth initiatives in 2009. We can see it in the fact that even though renewable capacity is at an all-time high, so too is fossil fuel capacity. We are emitting more than we ever have. Decoupling strategies just don't adequately address the overwhelming scientific evidence that recognizes we need to drastically reduce emissions quickly if we are to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming. So if the capitalist growth profit economy can't exist alongside a zero carbon, environmentally ethical one, what other options do we have? Under the pressures of capitalism and consumerism, certain people are grasping for some form of release valve, whether it be minimalism, zero waste, or slow living. Those with the privilege to do so are working to carve out some respite from the unhappiness of capitalist alienation. All of these lifestyle choices correctly recognize the detrimental effect of capitalist consumption on life and environment, but they lack a structural approach that recognizes the importance of both the individual and the system. This is where degrowth comes in. Degrowth positions itself in an anti-capitalist framework that seeks, in the words of Professor of Human Geography Mark Whitehead, the downscaling of production and consumption in a way that increases human well-being and enhances ecological conditions and equity. Essentially, degrowth calls for a realignment of the economy from one based on overconsumption and obsessive accumulation to one that produces goods to satisfy real needs like housing, health, education, transport, and others. At its core, Degrowth seeks the dramatic contraction of rich countries to allow for an increase in well-being for poor countries. Models show that a world population of 10 billion people cannot exist on this planet living the current capitalist North American or European lifestyle. It now takes the Earth 1 year and 8 months to regenerate what we consume in a year. And by we, I mean the richest 10% of the world, who are responsible for 50% of carbon emissions. So degrowth completely reimagines what it means to live well in countries like the United States or Australia or Germany. It means buying less, sharing, reducing meat consumption, and no second homes on the individual level. But ultimately, degrowth cannot function as just individual lifestyle choices. Systemic pathways like subsidizing all housing retrofits, shutting down the 100 companies that are responsible for 71% of the world's emissions, redistributing all food waste, dramatically expanding public transportation methods, eliminating unnecessary marketing, and a robust emphasis on low-carbon care oriented jobs like educators, therapists, and in-home care providers. Just some of the many ways to simultaneously improve the well-being of all while drastically reducing global noise consumption levels. Going back to Estonia, but it does mean a drastic reduction in energy and material consumption from the largest historical emitters right in the United States. The stark truth is that to avoid global warming above 1.5 degrees Celsius while simultaneously establishing a decent living for the majority of the world, consumption levels of the global north need. One study modeled that countries with the highest per capita consumers could cut their energy consumption rate by 95% and still live well with a combination of efficiency technologies and alternative lifestyles. In addition, they found a global reduction in energy consumption
And they're like, no
not
one's
only
talking about it. I feel
also
like
could be
really
done in a way
it
that
sounds
brings a comfortable
ridiculous, but
lifestyle
like
to every
there's a
single
guy,
person
he actually
on this planet.
specializes
If you're thinking
in
that
this
60%
specific
reduction
disease
or
that
even
is
95%
basically
reduction
just
would
a
be
smell,
living in caves,
and it's like you
you
retrain your brain
paper
to
asserts that this
try to
contraction
remember how
begins
to remember
reverting
smells.
back to 1960s.
And he's like, I've literally had people come to me suicidal because all they smell is shit. And he literally cuts off the nerve that connects the nose to the brain.
Describes her book, The Art of Fluid Healing, a life for all that centers people, experience, and well-being instead of relying on extra stuff to manage our emotional health. It would be an economy based on mutual care and repair. But this economic reality cannot happen under a state capitalist model. Indeed, were degrowth to be handed down in policy from the ruling class, it would look the same as austerity measures or even the conditions we're now living through in the pandemic. Because under capitalism, no growth means recessions, the consequences of which inevitably fall on the working class and marginalized, which is why degrowth is just one piece of the puzzle. While degrowth does a sufficient job recognizing the inherent destruction of our current capitalist growth profit system, it needs to be in conversation with eco-socialism. Eco-socialism cannot work without degrowth, and degrowth cannot function without eco-socialism. The synthesis of the two creates a steadier path away from capitalism. The seizing of the means of production by laborers and the masses, and the subsequent full democratic control of the workplace and the state is essential to implement any measure of degrowth. Reducing consumption must bubble up democratically from the many. Otherwise, it can quickly fall into draconian measures of economic oppression, which is why eco-socialism is essential. It allows for the reconstruction of the economy not based on profit and ultimately endless growth, but one based on needs, ultimately handing the working class agency and liberation. In the words of Marx, without the constant need for work in order to live or to quote-unquote have, we can actually start being. We can start asking questions like, why do we burn 800 million gallons of gas every year in the US just to mow our lawns when we could have an abundance of communal gardens instead? Why does work need to be the thing that defines our work?
Why do you keep buying the small Nutella? You
You
keep buying the small Nutella.
Never has it.
Really?
It's there, and I figure I might as well just get it, or don't forget.
I cannot remember where I was and I saw it on sale.
Unfortunately, videos like these, while very important, are terribly easy to cover, and sponsors don't like to touch. But there is a way you can becoming an OCC patron supporter helps Fortune and Finance stay afloat and as an OCC patron, you'll not only gain early access to videos, but also special behind-the-scenes updates and
vegetable jizz from this fucking air.
in addition, each month, my supporters vote on an environmental group that I then donate a portion of my monthly revenue to. Patreon supporters are the financial backbone of our changing climate operation.
I just got like the, I don't know if you know what Veggie Tales is. Nothing. Veggie Tales.
Or use the link in the description and become an OCC patron. If you're not interested or aren't financially able to, then no worries. You can help the channel out by subscribing, liking the video, and commenting. I hope you all enjoyed the video.
I don't remember, so I guess it wasn't important. Oh. Can I borrow your phone?
Huh?
Can I borrow your phone for a while?
Borrow my phone for what?
For a while.
For what? You're going for a W?
Third is at least the third time I told you.
I thought you were leaving.
I told you you're definitely home.
Like now? Or no?
No. Keaton calls him and tells him to go fuck himself. Keaton calls and telling him to go fuck himself.
Yeah, I'm gonna drive you soon, though, no?
Yeah.
I'm fucking wasted. I'm exhausted.
Okay. I thought you were going to say wasted. I was going to say.
Wasted. I've been drinking too. That's why I just realized I've been drinking. Trust me, that's not so enough. And I did eat. I have to eat something.
There's pizza boxes.